Good afternoon, everyone. Anyone writing Pol Science test here? No one. So, am I clearly audible? Yeah, there is echo in the voice. So, welcome to the first lecture of geography. Our course got delayed because I was not feeling well, and even I am not today 100% fit, but still, we'll start with our classes. So, this course ideally should go for 4 months. It will take 4.5 to 5 months. So, I am warning you first because the optional is huge. It is a very big chunk of the syllabus, and this year I will try to cover it by 4.5 months. So I'll make you free by the end of the somewhere around September end or October end ke aspas I'll make you free. Then after that we'll be meeting for the GS crash course just for some 3-4 means around 7-8 days before your preliminary examination. That is in part of our geography foundation itself, where we completely revise all the subsections of the GS. It had started well this year, but again due to health I had to cancel it after taking history and some part of current affairs. But you can, there are some of the students who attended that, and we could cover modern Indian history in 3 days, etc. So the idea is why, because you will be writing the answers of geography optional only if you clear preliminary examination. Otherwise there is no chance of doing the getting the benefit of optional. So, and looking at the past 2 years of our syllabus, prelims is becoming very dicey. I am more afraid of prelims than the main examination, because even this year, pata nahi, the students who are were least expected, उनके scores हैं 114, 115, जो rankers हैं उनके scores are around 95, 98, 102. So you don't know where the cutoff will go. That is why how the prelims have become dicey. I was talking to a person, score is good, but CSAT is 65. How much is required for CSAT? 66.5. So this thing should not happen in your preliminary examination. So we will work on that, but first we'll look at the geography optional here. How is the geography optional different from GS? Most of the part of the section A, paper 1 section A, is similar to your GS. We'll look at the syllabus in detail today after some time. And then section B is totally new. You must have not heard about the section B in your daily life. I'll just take simple example of how to study the section B and how the section B is interesting. Then when we come to the paper 1, there is no clear-cut demarcation between GS and geography, because some of the questions of geography optional are easier than GS ka questions which come in your geography, and some of the questions of geography GS are directly taken from the past year questions of geography optional. For example, last year's GS question, India's interest in the Arctic, it is 2012 ka repeat question. The importance of cryosphere in GS last to last year, it is an again 2013 ka repeat question. So there is no clear cut demarcation between geography in paper 2 and GS. Most of the areas are more or less similar. The only difference is we have to go into detail. Now what is the difference between a person who is studying GS and person who is studying optional? When you are studying GS, you should know 150 to 200 words of that related issue, and you should be able to write in points. When you study as a scholar, that is scholar matlab as an optional, because optional means around postgraduate level, not exactly postgraduate level, but a honors level. When you write any answer on the optional, the same 150 points wala funda will work, but with the name of scholars, and arguments. That is what is required. For example, when you say earthquake in geography GS, you will write about the plate tectonics, you will write about different things. In optional, you will start with any geophysical phenomena is an outcome of structure, process and time. मतलब ये W.M. Davis, who will be our most important father figure in geography optional, his W.M. Davis, his statement you will have to work on. Means you have to work on intro, conclusion, you will have to work on diagrams, and if you do the optional very properly along with the classes, you will be able to score well in the optional because this optional is highly vast. It is very huge optional. It is not easy. It is not small. So those who are having double minds ki nahi, I can easily read it in 2 months and cover, nahi, this is not for geography. This is not for pol science. This is not for pubad. No, this is not for sociology. Pubad ke liye thoda bahut bhi ho sakta hai, but this is not for sociology. These are the optionals, 3 optionals where you have to work. That is why the darling optional of nowadays is anthropology, where you can finish in 2 months. Fine. But such optionals are the optionals which become favorite. They are more like a celebrity who becomes favorite on social media, works for 2-3 years, and you never know when your chance comes what will be the returns. These are the optionals which will give you good returns over the period of time, but with a difference. A pol science student, you will be discussing with your friends, will say 300 to 310 is average mark. Geography student will say 280 to 300 is a good mark. Getting the difference? This is average mark, this is good marks. The topper here can cross 350. The topper here will have to struggle to make 322. So where then, why should you take the optional? There are 2 reasons for this. One, you will be guaranteed of clearing the preliminary examination if you study the optional very properly, because that still today the largest number of students who write the mains are from this optional. Why? Because maps, which students will find difficult, you will have to mug up. Environment ecology, which will have 15 to 16 questions, you will have to do in detail. Fine. Then economics ka some portion, world economic geography, that is nothing but economics ka some portion you will have to do in detail in the optional. Whatever the schemes that will come, right from agricultural schemes, right from green revolution, blue revolution, till Sagarmala, Bharatmala Pariyojana, all this are a part of geography optional. That is, it is highly related to current affairs. And why do students don't score marks? Why there are so many failures? Why your student friends must be advising you not to take this optional? There are 2 things. If there are 100 people in a crowd versus if there are 10 people in the crowd, where will the failure be more seen? In the 100 people. So you see more failures here. That doesn't mean you have chosen a wrong optional. That is, there are more failures here, because when you go and write the mains in the UPSC building, first there are 5 floors in the UPSC building. First 3 floors are for all other optional. 5th and 6th floor is for geography. Getting it? That is, the large number of students are writing it, and therefore competition is very high. So you will have to work very hard. Even today, if you are not ready to work very hard for this optional, change your mind. Fine. But if you are not ready to work very hard, it is more like a lottery. This entire UPSC is more like a lottery. Take public administration, you don't understand a philosophical statement of an thinker, and you write an answer, you know you will get 0 marks. The only difference is, in geography, if you don't cover these 3 books, this thick books, you will get 0 marks. If you don't understand even after studying, you will get 0 marks. That is the basic difference between these 2. It is highly static, paper 1. It is highly interesting, paper 1 and section B especially. The way I will teach you geographical thoughts, it is highly interesting. And section B, which is paper 2, Indian geography, is going to be factual. So how to write good marks, how to do section B? Our 4.5 months around 3 months will be dedicated to paper 1, and 1.5 month will be dedicated to paper 2. This I am warning you, since I am telling you first, because later on you should not feel that we have not given enough time to paper 2. Paper 2 does not demand time. Paper 1 demands time, and in any optional, paper 1 will demand time. Paper 2 demands regular answer writing practice. If you regularly write the answer, if you structure the answer, you will be able to get good marks. Paper 2 will ask you about the distribution of industries. Paper 1 will tell you about the theories of industrial distribution. So once you understand the theories of industrial distribution, you can apply it to the paper 2, that is the distribution of the industries. Getting it? Now, what are the resources to study? How is the syllabus? Sabse pehle I will ask you, how do you study geography? I see a mountain here. and you are going to study this mountain. How you are going to study this mountain? Not geomorphology. How you are going to study this mountain? Leeward side, windward side. What you'll see in geological time scale? कब बना हुआ है? One is saying forces, one is saying leeward side, windward side, the other one is saying geological time scale. Any other idea? Why it is present here? Why it is not present somewhere? Right? So this is a mountain. I go there, I study the height of the mountain, the relief of the mountain, the steepness of the mountain. If the mountain is very, very steep, means there are two outcomes, there are two things, assumptions. One is either the mountain is very, very young, means it has been formed recently in the geological time scale, or the second thing is mountain may be old, but there are not enough forces that can destroy the mountain. Both the conclusions are true. Why the forces are not enough to destroy the mountain? Because this mountain may be made up of one of the toughest material present on the earth, one of the toughest rocks that is present on the earth, and weather jo hai of that region may not be that strong it can destroy. For example, if a mountain is made up of iron ore, will it be eroded very fast? If the mountain is made up of on other two things, one is iron ore, the other is limestone. Limestone means chuna, where the mountain can be eroded very fast on the limestone, depending on if the climate is hot and humid. So the thinkers of geographers went there, studied the mountain, and when they studied the mountain, they divided the mountain on the basis of age: young, old, and mature stage. Young stage, the mountains are of a great height. Mature stage, the mountains are of medium height. Old age, there are no longer mountains left. The mountains have become a flat plain with some convex hills, and we will call them as peneplain. This approach to study the mountains or to study any relief features on the surface of the earth was propounded by W.M. Davis when he said landform is an outcome of structure, process, and time. What is the structure in this? Structure in this is iron or limestone. What is the process in this? Whether plate tectonics, whether volcanic eruptions, or whether the denudation means erosion. Time, young or old. Now, can I say human body is an outcome of youth, mature, and old age? This is what we will call as evolution. So W.M. Davis, is he talking about evolution of the landforms? Is he talking about the evolution of the landforms? How the landforms have evolved over the period of time? Just be blank today, don't get confused. All this will come over the period of time. Is he talking about the evolution of the landforms? Ki landforms pass through youth, mature, and old age, just like evolution of life? So who gave the theory of evolution? Darwin. And W.M. Davis then was influenced by whom? By Darwin. So Darwinian school, when it comes to geography, it is the school of geomorphic processes, landscapes. Now suppose if this is an flat area, there are two plates. Plates means huge forces are operating. One force is my hand, the other force is my another hand. Both these forces are coming together. What is happening? The land is getting folded. Does it become a mountain? Yes. Now if the river is running through it, will it cut the mountain? It will become very flat. Again, after some millions of years, again if the two forces come together, will the mountain be formed? So any landform which is present in an area may not go through one cycle of erosion. It may go through numerous cycles of erosion. The older the landform, there are more than one cycle of erosion on the landforms. Getting it? What do you mean by cycle of erosion? Mountain has been formed, destroyed. Again the mountain has been formed, destroyed. So older the mountains, there will be more and more cycles of erosion. This more than one is poly. So polycyclic relief features we are going to study in geography, in geomorphology on the surface of the earth. So how this polycyclic relief features will be formed? Not just about mountain, it can be about anything. It can be about mountain, it can be about plateau, it can be about plains. So whatever that is generally very old or which has been highly eroded becomes a flat plain. Fine. Who is going to erode the mountains? Rain, sunshine, wind. So these forces which act on the mountains are known as an or any landforms are known as an external forces. Or can I say this exogenetic forces are coming from the atmosphere? Fine. While anything that begins the mountain, brings the mountains, this forces which cause the movement of the plates. In my GS also I say we are now floating on the boat which is coming to the north. India was placed near the south pole, it is traveling to the north. Even in your daily life you know that the Himalayas are being formed due to upliftment. So who is moving India? India is being moved by huge convectional currents, by very warm convectional currents which are present below the surface of the earth. Extreme high heat, 6000 degrees Celsius of temperature is there if we go below the crust, that is below the 30 kilometers. It is so hot that entire earth is like a jelly. And this entire earth which is like a jelly, when anything is warm, when you boil your tea in the morning, does that liquid come up? Why? Because hot air tries to rise up. As the hot air tries to rise up, it generates convectional current. So the warm air rises, it reaches a certain height. After rising up, it becomes cool. आपके बर्तन में से from your teapot it goes up, it becomes cool. Because it becomes cool, it becomes denser. Means the spacing between the molecules decreases. Because it becomes denser, it becomes heavier and it tries to come down. Fine. So similarly, convectional currents are present below the surface of the earth. All the laws that operate on the surface of the earth also operate below the surface of the earth because laws are universal. Getting it? So all these convectional currents which generate on the earth, below the earth, this cause movement of the plates, huge bodies. They can be made up of continents, they can be made up of oceans. These are the plates, and these plates will cause movement of the earth. Getting it? Everyone? अब plates में crack है तो the आग or that fire can come up. Volcanoes. If the plates move, earthquakes. If the plates move below the water, tsunamis. Fine? So this initial part is the part of the landforms, but because it is optional, there are some of the theories regarding. So the first person who talked about was Penck. Now Penck said any landform will go through youth, mature and old age. Fine? Older, it will become flatter or steeper. What it is? Flatter. Younger, it will be more steep. Fine? So older the landform, it will be flatter. But zaruri nahi, many people started studying the landforms and they saw the older landforms are also of a greater height. Are we on one of the oldest landform right now? Yes, this Rajendra Nagar is located on the Aravalis. This Aravalis was once upon a time as high as Mount Everest, where you are on this landform. This once upon a time was as high as Mount Everest. Today, maybe after the class, आपका ध्यान जाएगा, that is when you walk from the signal to Agrawal Suites, there is steep. When you walk on the Shankar Road, it is more steep. Why? Because you are on one of the oldest fold mountains of the world, जिसका height has been reduced. And it has become more or less flat. If you go near the president's house, it is more steeper. That is Raisina Hills is located at the top. So this is what has happened to the Aravalis, time. But if you go to Mount Abu, in the same Aravalis, in Rajasthan, the height is great. Why? Because the rocks are tough. The rocks being tough, they have not been eroded. So not always Davis was right. So because Davis was not right, came the next thinker who said that the landform does not go like human life, youth, mature and old age. Landform depends upon what the structure of the landform is and what is the process operating. If the exogenetic process is operating, the landform will be flat. If the endogenetic process is operating, the landform will be steep. mountains, and if this both are balancing, the landform will be uniform. This is the most difficult theory in geography, and we will call this as the model of Penck. Now, if you ask your seniors, generally कोई भी Penck पढ़ के नहीं जाता. Generally, nobody studies the Penck. Why? Not because it is difficult. Not because it is difficult, but because it is written in German, and all the words are German. So instead of youthful stage, we will call the word Gunde, Abste Gunde, Elvet Gunde, Offste Gunde. So that is why we will find it difficult. But if you look at the, have you bought the past year papers? Show me. See, generally buy this. I prefer this. Don't. There are numerous publications in the market. Buy New Ishalga past year papers, and you will realize one good thing, that in geomorphology, questions are always repeated. No new question comes from geomorphology. No new question comes from climatology. One question may come from current affairs in oceanography. So section A of your paper, of your syllabus, even if you prepare all the past year questions, then you are 100% sure that you will be able to solve most of the questions. Kabhi bouncer comes like 2017, that is the pseudo volcanic features. Nobody knew about it. But if you ask the students in 2000, I guess you know how is the optional paper. Optional paper is divided into section A and section B. There is one question number 1 and question number 5. Then question number 2, question number 3, question number 6, question number 7. Fine? Question number 1 and 5 is always short note of 10 marks each. First, understand how to solve the paper. These are 5 short notes of 10 mark each, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and these are 5 short notes, and always it is written question number 1 and 5 are compulsory, and out of remaining how many questions? 6 questions. You have to choose any 3 with at least 1 from each section. Means once you write question number 1 and question number 5, you can choose 2 from here, 1 from here. You can choose 1 from here and 2 from here. Right? Depends upon whatever it is. But if you want to score good marks in geography optional, the best is to choose 2 from section A and 1 from section B. Why? Because you will find core geography here. Getting it? You will find core geography here. Core geography, landform, relief features. What you will find here? Question: examine the population distribution of the world. Examine what is the scope of renewable energy in the world. Examine the trade patterns of the world. In this you will find many questions. When you see the question paper for the first time as a new student without seeing the optional, you look at the section B and decide, "Arey wah, what an easy paper this is. What is the hunger and malnutrition problem in the world?" This will be the question. Examine the role of poverty or poverty in the world. What is social capital? Social capital, which came in this year's prelims. The same thing, it is given in your syllabus. What do you mean by social capital? So all this looks very easy. But when you write, you will realize one thing: you cannot distinguish between optional cancer and GS cancer. Food malnourishment problems of the world, what you will write in optional differently than GS. How will you tell the examiner that you have a good knowledge of geography? By taking 2 questions from here and 1 questions from here. Second, what is the mistake students make while studying geography? The mistake students make while studying geography, and I did the same mistake last year while taking my batch, is focusing too much on geomorphology. Fine. 1.5 month we studied geomorphology so that each and every questions can be answered from that topic. Then 2 month, 1.5 month you will study climatology. Then 1 month you will study oceanography. Kitne ho gaye? 4 month while doing self preparation. And what you don't study? You don't study section B, that is the geographical thought. And therefore students score less marks. But if you do balanced preparation, climatology, geomorphology from here, little bit of oceanography, baki ka skip it. No need of even doing that. Don't need to even study that chapter, except for some soil ka problem for 10 marker, and 2-3 chapters from here you will score very good marks in the geography. Fine. And section B is an application. You see the past year toppers ka answers, they score less marks in paper 1 and they score very high marks in paper 2. Paper 2, how much marks ka paper is there? 300 or 150? 250? 250. Paper 2, 150 marks in paper 2 is average score. On other hand, 70 to 100 marks in paper 1 is average score. Then who becomes topper? One who gets around 120, 130 in paper 1 and 160, 170 in paper 2 can easily crack the examination. Once you study paper 1 and paper 2 of this level, I guarantee you don't have to study paper 3 of GS. Paper 3 of GS is economics. Look in the syllabus on the Indian geography part. Chapter number 3, agriculture, paper 3, GS 3, all is as it is. Chapter number 4, industries, GS 3. Chapter number 5, transport, communication and trade, GS 3. Chapter number 9, Indian federalism, states reorganization, emergence of new states, polity, regional consciousness, interstate issues, some part of social issues, international boundary of India, related issues, cross-border terrorism, India's role in world affairs, internal security. So this is the overlap of GS in mains. Getting it? And chapter 10 of your syllabus is nothing but what entire all these 9 chapters are saying. We don't study chapter 10 separately, it is all covered in the 9 chapters itself. So to score, no matter what you are doing GS, you are doing pol science, you are doing sociology, you are doing geography, any good student should first know what his option, what his syllabus is. Otherwise you will be reading Hindu unnecessarily, of the columns which are not even in the syllabus, and then you don't know what is the syllabus. So sabse pehle ye syllabus ka copy, always keep it with yourself. Second, always keep the past year questions with yourself. Third is, whenever we finish a topic, look at all the past year questions that have come and try to restructure, make the answers for that and get it checked from me. What are the diagrams to be included? What are the definitions to be included? What the introduction should be? What the conclusion should be? Have a file of some 200-300 pages of your model answers ready, so that in the next June you should just revise the file and be prepared for writing the answer. Next June you should not touch the notes. Next June you should not touch big books. Fine? If you touch big books, you are behind the race. Because who will be competing with you? Out of 900 students who are writing, who are going to get selected, 500 will be already selected students. Fine? So your competition really lies between the rest of 500. This year's topper was IRS earlier. Fine? Last year's topper was IPS earlier. So this is how the, you can say, the competition is. So when you have taken this examination as a career, I say one sentence in Hindi. I don't know how many of you can understand Hindi very properly, but there is no English translation for this quote. The quote is, dam optional mein nahi hota. दम बंदे में होता है. Getting it? Understanding this? No? Someone from Hindi will have to tell him. Means there are saying, there are something, what is good optional, what is bad optional. There is nothing such as good optional and bad optional. There is only one thing, that is good candidate. People will mathematics score 400, people will mathematics will end up in 100 also. Fine. So there is nothing such as good and bad candidate, or sorry, optional. There is always depends upon the candidate. Now with this background, first I will explain you what are the basics of the syllabus, and we'll start with the first chapter here. So first is the most important part, that is the geomorphology. Every year question number 2 generally is from geomorphology, and there is one question from question number, in the question number 1 short note is from geomorphology. So geomorphology at no cost should be left out, should be optional. It has to be done very properly. So first, factors controlling the landform development. This is what I have discussed, endogenetic and exogenetic. Origin and evolution of the earth's crust, how the earth's crust has evolved over the period of time, that is what he said, geological time scale. Fine. Then fundamentals of geomagnetism. Now this is a bit difficult topic. You must have read the current affairs ka portion, that the earth's magnetic field is shifting. So why the earth has magnetic field? You will understand this in the fundamentals of geomagnetism, how the earth behaves like a magnet. Fine. Physical conditions of the earth's interior, nothing but your GS. So whatever I am saying GS, underline that so that you don't waste much time in studying that topics again and again in GS. Physical conditions of the earth's interior is what is Sial and Sima, what is the crust, mantle and core. It is nothing but as it is your general studies. Geosynclines, we'll come to that. Geosyncline is one small theory, very easy theory. How many of you are from general studies? Have attended my first lecture of GS? May batch, no, in June batch. So you must have heard about Tethys Sea, a narrow, shallow sea between Himalayas. So Tethys Sea was an example of a geosyncline. What is a geosyncline? What is a syncline? Syncline means depression. When the depression is as big as the earth in the scale, but not very deep, it is known as geosyncline. So geosyncline, it is sometimes said that Himalayas came out of a geosyncline. Very easy theory. So not a, but a part of GS. Continental drift, GS. Isostasy, we will have a passing reference to it in the GS. That is how the forces of the earth balance each other. For example, if I take these two things now, and if I put, imagine this is a sponge. The weight jiska zyada hai, it will go deep. The weight jiska kam hai, it will float. So the theory of the isostasy says the oceanic crust is denser and therefore it is at a lower depth, and the continents, especially the mountains, are made up of the lightest rock and therefore they are at the greater height. This is what is the theory of isostasy. Where will we apply it in GS? We study this in GS to understand what are dam induced earthquakes. You must have heard last year, I was expecting the question this year, hydroseismicity. Palghar region of Maharashtra was facing frequent earthquakes. You will understand that through isostasy. Plate tectonics, GS. Recent views on mountain building, it is nothing but geosyncline is old and plate tectonics is new. So mountain building, when you write in the terms of plate tectonics, it is the recent view on mountain building. Volcanicity, earthquake, tsunamis, GS. And then comes the most tough part of optional. Once we do this and some of the subtopics, your optional is ready. That is the concepts of geomorphic cycles, W.M. Davis, Penck, L.C. King, landscape development and denudation chronology. What do you mean by chronology? Order. Chronology is time scale, order. What do you mean by denudation? Destruction. So does the denudation chronology, youth, mature and old age, is it not a denudation chronology? So that is nothing but the concepts of Davis and Penck. This is the foundation, this is the basement of your geography. If your Davis and Penk is strong, your question number 2 is ready. If your question number 2 is ready, you are 280 plus in optional. If your question number 2 is not ready, Savindra Singh is not going to help, neither any of the books are going to help, because whatever the 3 books I am carrying today, one is Savindra Singh, physical geography, one is P. Dayal, geomorphology, one is Thornbury, geomorphology. Where you will have to read these 3 books. And then rather than doing UPSC, I'll ask you to do PhD in geography. Right? Don't fall in love with the books. You are not here to gain knowledge, you are here to clear the examination. So if you want to ask me kaun sa book lena hai, I will tell you only 2-3 books. Rest of the things are in the form of printed notes from the standard books. No need of buying extra books. In fact, you concise the notes also. Apne notes itne ho jayenge, you try to concise them rather than reading new books through it. And then application of geomorphic cycles in the terms of channel morphology. How the river channel looks like. Difficult. Erosion surface is easy. Slope development, how the slope develops. Again, it is an applied part. So all these parts which are there, that is the concepts of geomorphic cycle, landscape development, denudation chronology, channel morphology, erosion surfaces, slope development, this is a single topic. It will require 6 to 7 lectures and utmost concentration. So those who have the habit of watching online, they also come to the class during these topics, because what happens online, you cannot concentrate for 2 hours. It is human psychology. That is why 4th industrial revolution will still require human touch. World Economic Forum is also saying that, right? So why? Because somebody may call you, your WhatsApp will ring, you will then stop the video, pause the video, and that is the end. That is why whatever we have taught in the class came in the prelims, but the results are different for 2 sets of people. Those who relied on environment ecology online could not score very high. Unko yaad hi nahi aaya. And those who relied on the classes, the words were ringing: temperate alpine forest, valley of flowers. Temperate alpine forest, valley of flowers. The words were ringing. They did not mark Naam Dafa. They could mark only valley of flowers. So that is the difference. Fine. And then we come to easy part, jahan se never a question comes, that is the applied geomorphology, geohydrology, economic geology, and environment. Applied geomorphology, to understand the rocks, we study the rocks to understand what kind of minerals are there. We study the rocks to understand whether the rocks will be having coal or iron ore or petroleum. Fine. That is economic geology. We study the rocks to understand how is the spaces between the particles in the rocks. For example, if the spaces between the particles is big versus if the spaces between the particles is small, water can easily pass through. Yahan pe water will be less. That is geohydrology. And uska impact on the environment. But obviously, the only scope here will be short notes. Right? We then come to easiest portion, where I generally, from this year I have started my GS batch with climatology, because the same thing used to happen in GS. Geomorphology is so interesting, but it is so vast that I used to take around 20 lectures to finish geomorphology in GS also. So we have first started with climatology, which is more relevant from the exam point of view, the climate. When you study climate, atmosphere, structure of the atmosphere, what are the layers of the atmosphere, what are winds, what are clouds, what is stability, what is instability. You have to, I will give you an example, very simple example, what do you mean by stability or instability. Those who don't have studied GS also, do you know a simple fact that when the air goes up, temperature decreases at the rate of 6.5 degrees Celsius for every kilometer. Air cools. Because air cools, I am not telling you the technical fact now. When anything cools, does it contract? Fine. So imagine this is an air. This is the moisture that is present in an air. Fine. So as the air is going up, it is cooling. Because it is cooling, it is contracting. And what is happening? The level of moisture is increasing. If I increase it more, will the moisture fall down? Fine. So such air which rises is known as unstable. Unstable air is responsible for precipitation. When the air is having 100% moisture in it, I'm just making you familiar with the keywords. Fine. Don't worry about the complexity of the words. When the air is having 100% moisture, is the air having 100% moisture now? No. Am I adding any moisture to the air? No. I am not adding any moisture. I am just reducing uska water holding capacity. Now it has become 100%. इससे ज़्यादा दबाऊंगा, if I press more, will it fall? So such air which is having 100% moisture is known as saturated air. How do you identify saturated air? Go out, today's climate is saturated air. There are clouds in the sky. If the air is further made to rise up, it will give precipitation. Fine. When does the air rise up? When it is heated. When does the heat occurs? During the daytime or during the night time? Daytime, generally in the afternoon. So in the afternoon you had showers? Today? That is the answer. That is the beauty of climatology. You will understand it with your everyday examples. Fine. So till the time I say only optional, बाकी सब GS में है. Temperature and pressure belts of the world will start in the June batch on Thursday itself, the same topic. Fine. Heat budget of the earth. This is not in GS. This is only for optional. Atmospheric circulation, that is winds. Fine. Atmospheric stability and instability, that is what I have told you. Atmospheric circulation GS, atmospheric stability, instability GS, planetary and local winds GS, monsoon and jet streams GS. What is the difference between winds and jet stream? What is a wind? What do you call it something as a wind? When air moves horizontally or when the air moves vertically? When the air moves horizontally, it is a wind. So wind is on the surface or some 8 kilometers, 9 kilometers on the top of that, on the surface. So when something moves horizontally on the surface, it is wind. If the air moves vertically at the height of 8 to 10 kilometers, it is known as jet streams. Why the word jet stream? Because they were discovered by jets. Because they were discovered by jets. It is very simple. During the World War II, Japan, USA, planes were going to bomb Japan, and while going to bomb Japan, they found that unka speed reduced. And while coming after bombing from Japan, they found that unka speed increased. And they discovered that there is a strong wind which is 8 to 10 kilometers above the surface of the earth. And this is what is known as a jet stream. Jet stream plays an important role in the monsoon. Whatever what is happening nowadays, it is all an example because of the influence of the jet stream. If you read yesterday's newspaper, they have, I don't remember whether it is today's or yesterday's newspaper, where is the news कि monsoon has covered India within 4 days. Today's newspaper, क्योंकि मुझे 12 बजे के बाद पढ़ने की आदत है, so I don't remember the newspaper. So monsoon has come till Varanasi, but after coming till Varanasi, the newspaper is saying, but this is not hope, because Delhi may not get rainfall for another 20 days from monsoon. Why? Because if you read that news article, it is saying that low pressure system in the Bay of Bengal has weakened, and this low pressure system is nothing but jet stream. You getting it? So this topic, monsoon and jet streams, every year you will find one question from monsoon and jet stream. And can you realize monsoon and jet stream is related to the climate of India? Generally, every optional, paper 1 is world and paper 2 is India, but monsoon is given in paper 1. Fine. Then air masses and frontogenesis. We'll understand it again over the period of time. Huge body of air is known as an air mass, and fronts are when two different air masses will collide. Over the period of time, you will understand this. Temperate and tropical cyclones, weather and climate. Yahan pe it is everything is common with GS. Fine. So UPSC is giving you very easy topics, and then comes Davis and Peng ke bhi father in the terms of complexity, where you will realize this is the first time you think कि क्यों मैंने geography optional लिया. You may not have that in Davis and Peng, but once you study Köppen, Thornwright and Trevartha, you will realize कि geography optional क्यों लिया. And that is the only top time you will realize, because it is not geography. You will have to sit with calculators. Actually, examination maybe don't sit with calculators, but you will see so much complex things are there here. Because what this Köppen, Thornwright and Trevartha, these are three different climatologists who have tried to divide the world climate into different types, and उसमें सबसे difficult is Thornwright. Why? Because he has 126 different types of climate. That is, he has divided the world climate into 126 subtypes. So question comes, write a short note on Thornwright's climatic classification. Are you expected to write 126? Impossible. You will not be able to realize. So this is where trick comes. If question number 2, geomorphology, and question number 3 is having one, there are sub questions, and if one question is on Trevartha and Köppen, you should grab it, write it. But if one sub question is on Thornwright for 20 marks, skip it. Uthao yahan se do. This is how you have to judge in the paper. Getting it? If question number 2 you have to attempt at any cost, that is geomorphology, very easy. Question number 3, if it is Thornwright, and generally UPSC has not asked Thornwright, UPSC will ask you a comparison between Thornwright and Köppen. UPSC also knows what is difficult, right? Hydrological cycle we study in environment and ecology, not in GS also. And global climate change, role and response of a man in the climatic changes, applied climatology and urban climate. This I have discussed even in the June batch of the GS, climate change. The same topics, but only thing bit with theory. Fine. Global climate change. What do you mean by climate change? Anyone, what do you mean by climate change? Temperature increases because of global warming, anthropogenic activities. Next question is climate change natural? Yeah, only man-made? Both. So here you will have to study previous climate changes which were natural, compare it with role and response of a man, that is anthropogenic climate change. Fine. So this topic, global climate change, is not your GS ka simple topic, because wahan pe we don't deal with the natural climatic changes. We deal with only the artificial climate, that is man-made climatic changes, but that is we will deal with only the role and the response of the man. But here we will have to do with the Wilkinson cycle, will have to do with the natural climatic changes also due to volcanic eruptions, due to Pleistocene ice age glaciation, etc. Applied climatology, what is applied climatology? You must have heard about green buildings. What are green buildings? That will release less carbon dioxide, that will absorb more, that will be less heated. So the application of climatology to your daily life, that is what is known as an applied climatology. One aspect of the applied climatology was in your GS this year, in prelims, that is stratospheric sulfur injection. That is all is the applied climatology. Getting it? Urban climate, urban heat island. It has been your past year GS paper question also, and it is also in the optional. Then we come to the easiest portion of geography, entire paper. Why easiest? Because bottom topography of Atlantic, Indian and Pacific Ocean we have already covered, we would have already covered that in geomorphology. Then temperature and salinity of the oceans, heat and salt budget, ocean deposits, waves, currents, tides, marine resources. What are the kind of marine resources? Food resources from the fishes, biotic resources. Fine. So that is what marine resources are of three types: life, biotic; minerals, mineral resources; energy, petroleum; gas hydrates, that is tidal energy, wave energy. So all these topics are very, very easy. You will feel as if we are repeating our general studies ka lectures in this topic of oceanography. Nothing new to study here. Coral reefs, coral bleaching, sea level changes, law of sea and marine pollution. Everything is GS except the theories of coral reefs. So what is extra here is theories of coral reef formation. Getting it? Question. Then next chapter 4 and 5 are your environment and ecology in prelims. So if you do this environment and ecology for prelims very properly, you will be able to solve this. Genesis of soil, how does the soil originates? Classification and distribution of the soils, only optional. This is very complex, because what happens is, because this is in the paper 1, you are not going to study classification and distribution of the soils of India only. You are going to study it of the entire world. And when you study the entire world, complexity increases. Soil profile, A layer, O layer, B layer. Soil erosion, open-ended topic. Degradation, conservation. Fine. Factors influencing world distribution of plants and animals. What will be the factors that influence the world distribution of plants and animals? One of the factor is climate. Other factor is soil. Mount Everest pe do we find life? No. Where means big plants? No. Why? Climate is very harsh. Can we do agriculture on Mount Everest? No. Why? Because the climate is harsh. We don't have any soil. So this are again an open-ended topic. That is the factors which influence the distribution of. Same thing will apply to the animal and plant. Now take an example. Why zebra is found in Africa? Why zebra is naturally found in Africa? Do we find zebra in India? Tall grasses are there in Africa. So what happens in the tall grasses? You are right, you are going in the same direction, but see, African climate is it hot or cold climate? It is generally hot climate. And in the hot climate, two things are necessary for plants or for life: heat and humidity. African climate is hot, but it does not get heavy rainfall. So whatever the rainfall that falls, it is not sufficient for trees to grow in that region. So trees do not grow in some regions of the world. But that rainfall is more than enough for grasses to grow. So the grasses will grow very tall, 12 feet, 6 feet, 12 feet. This will be the height of the grasses. But African summers are very, very hot. And therefore the grasses in the lack of water may die in the African summers. So what the grasses do, or what the plants do to survive hot climate? They will stop the loss of water. How do they stop the loss of water? If this is the leaf, they will roll the leaf and make it into thorns, cactus. Fine. They will conserve excess moisture in the form of milk. Break aloe vera, break any of the cactus, you will find milk coming. What is that? That is because they have to survive the hot summer season. So wahan ka grasses are going to be wiry, having thorns, having coarse structure. What is the difference between goat and cattle? Cattle can survive only on the soft grasses. Goat, antelope and deers can survive on the coarse grasses. Fine. So goat farming is the new business in India, not in geography optional. It is a GS ka topic. Animal rearing, economics of animal rearing, GS3. This region of India is drought prone. Maharashtra, Telangana, Rayalaseema, Karnataka. It is and now even Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu ka drought is more like a man-made drought. Fine. So this is a drought prone. In the drought prone regions, government agriculture is in crisis. There is no irrigation. So most of the farmers are doing suicide in that region. Government has tried many times. What initially they tried? Initially they took all the buffaloes from Haryana, the best quality buffaloes are in Haryana, in the northwestern part of the country, and exported them there so that farmers can sell the milk and get extra income. So they are not just dependent upon the climate. But buffaloes died. Why? Grasses are not there. There are thorns. The climate is very hot. So this strategy failed. Somehow Amul or white revolution was successful in some parts of the country, but it was not successful in the other parts of the country. Now you cannot ask the farmers ki no, don't stop to doing farming, because no industry is going to go there. Pani nahi hai, to what they will do for the industries? You should know what is happening now in Tamil Nadu. IT companies are asking people to work from home because there is no water in the buildings. It is facing one of the worst droughts. So what is the best income source? The best income source of this people today is animal that can survive even on thorns, and that is the goat. So India goat farming has increased. A problem is happening. Economics says goat farming, promote it. Religion says don't eat mutton. So the problem is happening there. But farmers are taking up large scale goat farming practices because goat requires less amount of water. Why? Goat farming is successful here because the best market, Hyderabad, is nearby. Fine, for kebabs and all these things. Getting it? So you have to use these daily life examples from the current affairs even in your answers. Getting it? So same, I'm coming to Africa. So Africa there will be more dominance of the animals which are deer and antelopes. Because there is more dominance of the animals which can eat thorns, variety come here. Numbers are greater, variety is less. So the variety of which animals is more there, the variety of the animals which are known as carnivorous is more in that region. Fine? In the Africa, carnivorous animals will dominate. And what are these carnivorous animals? Right from lion to wolf, cheetah, all are these carnivorous animals which will be eating the herbivorous. So why they are concentrated? Now if you want to survive in the Africa, you should know to fight or to run or to hide. So deer, antelope know how to run. Elephant, one-horned rhino, two-horned rhinos know how to fight. Zebra know how to hide. Giraffe cannot eat grass, so he has to eat tall leaves. So over the period of time, a normal horse-like animal, evolution, it has to always climb up, uska gardan hi upar ho gaya, only neck has gone up. So this is the factors that affect the distribution of plants and animals. And out of all these examples, UPSC will ask you only this example which I have told you. It does not ask any other example. It asks the distribution of animals in the Ethiopian realm. Ethiopian realm means only Africa. Questions are very selected. They will not ask the distribution of animals in the polar realm. They will not ask the distribution of the animals in the tropical rainforest region. Even if they ask, answer is very easy, but they will not ask because you don't have content. Kya likhoge? In the tropical evergreen forest like Kerala, where there is heavy rainfall, forests are very dense. Forests are very dense, therefore only monkeys can survive. Your answer will end there. Fine. So you have to focus only on this part and mark this part as important. Ecosystem and their management conservation, environmental degradation, management and conservation, biodiversity, sustainable development, environmental policies, environmental hazards, environmental education, etc. Topics look very open-ended. Environmental impact assessment, sustainable development, but the questions which come, they are very, very tough. Getting it? 2013 का क्वेश्चन है, 2017 का वन क्वेश्चन इज, फॉरगेट 13, 2017 का वन क्वेश्चन इज पेव थियरी ऑफ एनवायरमेंटल मैनेजमेंट. Now search on the internet, Google on the internet, you will not find any such theory. What did they ask you? They asked you, for environmental management, how will you challenge the perception of the individual? How will you change the attitude of the individual? How will you challenge his value system? And how will you challenge his emotions? So this is the theory of psychology. Change the perception that trees are good. Then change the attitude. What is the attitude? Plant more trees. Change the value system. Make person believe in the religion. So that religion says that trees should be conserved. And then positive emotions will come. Fine? Paper was very difficult for the person who left geomorphology because he had no choice but to answer question number 4. And paper was very easy for the person who have done this thing. So that is why again I am stressing, what should be your target? Question number 2 and 3. What should be your target? Question number 6 or 8. Why 8? We come to the most interesting part of geography. Now the question why I am discussing the syllabus, because right from the first chapter we'll write the concepts of the 5th chapter, though we'll study the 5th chapter later on. But till the time your notes don't have the concepts of the 5th chapter, you are not going to score marks. Fine? Have you heard about this debate in psychology or in child upbringing or something? Nature versus nurture debate. What is nature debate? A person is born with some genetic inherent qualities. So if he is born to a very, very intelligent parents, the child will be intelligent. Why? Everything is determined by the nature. If he is born to criminal parents, he will have criminal blood. If he is born to some average parents, he will be average. This is what is the nature debate. What is the nurture debate? They say nothing. Nature does not play an important role. A child of a criminal, but if he is taken out from that criminal family and brought out in very good surroundings, he can be the good citizen. And child of average person who can be given good education will become an intelligent person. So ऐसा नहीं कि Einstein का parents were as brilliant as Einstein. Getting it? So what do you believe in? Nature or nurture? What do you believe in? Which state you are from? Yes. Bihar. You? Haryana. How we can distinguish you? Tamil Nadu. Andhra. Tamil Nadu. Andhra. You? Uttar Pradesh. Karnataka. Is there any person who is having blue eyes, very tall nose in our classroom, which is having golden hair, just like any European? Why? Because we are born in certain kind of an climatic conditions, and therefore our appearance may change a little bit, but we will be having brown skin. There will be variation. We'll be having a specific height. We'll be having a specific mindset. Getting it? So what determines this thing? Is it the nature which is determining? Is human being stronger than the nature, or is the nature stronger than the human beings? Nature is stronger than the human beings. If you are saying everything is determined by the nature, you follow a school of geography which is known as determinism. Everything is determined by the nature. What job you do is determined by the nature. What is your attitude is determined by the nature. What will be your occupation is determined by the nature. What will be your outlook towards life, it will be determined by the nature. It is the most interesting part, but the most neglected part of geography, because the way here, the way here becomes totally different from geography. All the chapters of geography are technical in nature except for this chapter. So there were thinkers who said, people of the subcontinent of geography, geography ka thinkers, it is not my view. There were the people who said that the thinkers who said that the people of the subcontinent means our region, SARC countries wala region, to the south of them, are timid, short-sighted, dishonest, disloyal, not loyal, and are meant to be ruled by the foreign forces because they cannot fight. They can be controlled by anyone, and this was used by Europeans to come and attack the Asia, Southeast Asia. Why? Because they are having monotonous climate. Right from Punjab, Pakistan till Assam, you are having only same kind of climate in which the great plains are very fertile. Because the great plains are very fertile, there is enough water and the climate is very good. So people here do not have habit of working hard. Because the people here do not have habit of working hard, they are basically lazy. Because they are basically lazy, so they will not work in groups. Because of the fertile, why? Because you have to just sow and the ground gives it back in the terms of millions of tons of food grains. Because food is very much available, therefore population is extreme. Population density will be very high. Because population will be very high, there will be competition for resources, and because there will be competition for resources, there will not be a mutual trust between these people. Getting it? This school of geography is what is known as determinism. Person, it says, person who is on the hills, who always stays on the hills, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, they are always honest. Anywhere in the world where the person who stays in the mountains are very honest. Why? Because if they are not honest with themselves, one step and they are down, dead in the valley. So honesty comes inside them because they have to be honest in their everyday life. And this everyday life, honesty comes in their character, and then it comes in the over the period of time. This school of geography says the person who is living on the coast, because he interacts with numerous people, trade occurs through coast, will always be open-minded. So Kerala ka Hindus don't mind eating beef. Uttar Pradesh ka Hindus may mind eating beef. Getting it? Why? Because there is always a confluence of culture. He will always be long-sighted. Why? Because he will always look at the sea, and sea mein end nahi dikhta, so uske thinking ko end nahi hai. This all school of geography is what is known as determinism. And this determinism ka school came from Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin ka follower, one was Davis, one was Ratzel. Ratzel was a person who said, just like what we require, as we grow, we require more food. Food will come from area. So as we grow in size, as our family grows in size, can I say our area ka requirement from where the food will come will grow? When you are as a student, one room is sufficient or one bed is sufficient. Will that be the same goal on your life after 5 years? Will you be able to survive on the sharing basis with your wife, on children? No. You will require 1 BHK ka flat, then as the children and the family will grow, 2 BHK, 3 BHK, this is how you will grow, he said. Similarly, the state, W.M. Davis, a follower of Ratzel, went into geomorphology. Darwin went into geomorphology. But Ratzel changed the entire course of geography because he applied the theory of evolution to state, that means to a nation. He said, that nation will grow over the period of time. And because the nation will grow over the period of time, it will require more resources. And because it will require more resources, what the nation is like a human being. And like the human being, every nation should capture the weaker nations, which are the neighbors. So Ratzel ka first law was, your first enemy is your neighbor. Getting it? So India and Pakistan can never be friends, because if the India will grow, Pakistan has to be weak, then only India will capture Pakistan and bring in the resources. And if Pakistan is your neighbor, then this is India, this is Pakistan, this is Afghanistan. Pakistan is the neighbor of Afghanistan, Pakistan is the neighbor of India, therefore obviously India and Afghanistan are best friends. This is the theory which says the states should grow. And then India, if Pakistan comes as a part of India, who will be our next enemy? Afghanistan. And therefore, Ratzel was the founder of a school of geography which is known as geopolitics. Unfortunately, Ratzel was also a political advisor to Hitler. And therefore, World War II started. Getting it? ये सारे concepts कहाँ पे है? Ratzel का one of the biggest disciple of the Ratzel was Semple, Ellen Churchill Semple, one of the famous ladies in geography. She was so much colonial in her interest. I am using the word colonial. She was so much colonial in the interest that she said what I told you, Asians are timid. Asians should be ruled. Fine? She said man is the dust of the dust. Of the dust. Dust kiska? Dust ka. Dust of the dust of Mother Earth. Getting it? So this school of geography which thinks that nature is supreme is what is known as determinism. And where did the first revolution for humanism started? What do you know about French Revolution? Where the idea of liberty etc. came? In France. From the French Revolution came the idea of liberty, came the idea of human being supreme, and therefore the French geographers rejected the school of determinism and they said that not necessarily. Rajasthan ke Ganganagar district mein we can grow sugarcane. Dubai can be made one of the biggest cities in the world. You human beings can go and settle in Antarctica. Future mein human beings can go and settle in the Mars. What school is this? This is possibilism. That is, human being is supreme. Now you tell me, whom do you agree? It is very much required from tomorrow's lecture. Possibilism or determinism? Possibilism. Anyone who agrees here with determinism? You agree with possibilism. So you agree with possibilism? You are going to get 1 CR ka paycheck per month. But the only condition is you have to go and settle in Antarctica for your entire life. Will you go? Why? Because of harsh climate. Second choice is you have to go and stay on the Mount Everest. Possible? No. Why? Harsh climate. So the school which works today is neo-determinism. Neither possibilism, neither determinism. That is the neo-determinism. And what does this school says? This school says that nature behaves like a traffic light signal. जब तक green light दिया है nature ने, you can do a development at any scale. But as soon as the nature shows you red light, you have to stop. Otherwise, nature will come back and affect you. Where are you going to use this? Climate change. This is how your answer should be. Link one chapter to another. You can do any scale of development, but once the nature gives you stop, then you say you have to slow down. And the neo-determinism inspired one of the biggest movement, that is what is known as the concept of sustainable development. Fine? So these are the three things which we study in chapter 5. If you want to score high marks again in geography, this 4 chapters should be your strong point: geomorphology, climatology, chapter 5, that is the perspectives in human geography, and the 4th chapter I will tell. Fine. So the schools of determinism and possibilism, this was one thing. That is, whether you believe in determinism, whether you believe in possibilism. So this is what, come to the syllabus and understand, this is what is known as point 3 of our syllabus: dichotomy and dualism in geography. Dichotomy, which school you are going to believe. Both are right. There are two ways of thinking. So dichotomy and dualism in geography. From the concept of neo-determinism came environmentalism. Getting it? The second thing which was going to study, which was the dichotomy in geography, was when you are going to study the geography, if this is the world and if this is India, how you are going to study the geography? You are going to study mountains of world. If you are going to study mountains, these are the young fold mountains, these are the young fold mountains. Then you study climates of the world, then you study the economic geography of the world, or you take India. And when you take India, you study everything about India: mountains, economic geography, climate. And then when you study India and you find it has a type of climate, find which of the other places in the world has a type of climate, and then you try to complete. So that is the first point of our syllabus, that is the areal differentiation. Differentiate between the areas. Fine. Now, if you are going to study the climate of India, if you are going to study the climate of the world, monsoon ek factor. What are the factors that determine the monsoon? I'll quickly tell you. The latitude and locational extent of India, whether the India is surrounded by the sea, Himalayas, role of Himalayas, the moisture in India, El Nino, La Nina, numerous such phenomena, heating and cooling of the Pacific Ocean, heating and cooling of the Indian Ocean on daily basis. So all these parameters, does it, when you study geography on such a large scale, that is, ये अगर समझ में आ गया तो नीचे के चैप्टर सिर्फ एक, they are just an example of an, you can say they are just a formality. You don't, never the questions come from these chapters. It is the perspectives in human geography and the 4th chapter, models and theories in the human geography, which are more important. So when you study all these parameters, does it generate huge amount of data? When it generates huge amount of data, how to use that data? For that, do you require computers? When you are generating huge amount of data, when you are predicting whether the Indian monsoon is going to come to Delhi on 15th or 16th, you will require huge amount of data, you will require computer modeling, and you will require the help of computers. So dichotomy and dualism in geography suddenly shifted when the school of area differentiation and with the coming up of computers. With the coming up of computers, there was large scale data, and this chapter is common in all syllabus. Whether you do public administration, ये है, सिर्फ chapter का नाम अलग है. Whether you do psychology, this chapter is there. Whether you do sociology, this chapter is there. Getting it? So have a very fundamental understanding. One way, determinism or possibilism. The other way, forget about determinism and possibilism. Study the, this is what, when you study the world, this is what is the systematic geography. When you study only a certain place, this is what is the regional geography. Whether you study regional geography, whether you study systematic geography, what you try to do, you try to generalize the data. And when you try to generalize the data, you feed in the computers, and when you feed in the computers, you can predict the outcome. It may be right, it may not be right. Example, you will predict the, you will take the data of entire people who come out of the election booth, feed it in the computers, and come with the, which poll? Exit poll. All this was possible whether in geography, whether in economics, with the coming up of the computers, and this is what is known in social sciences as quantitative revolution. Fine? So quantitative revolution is our next topic. What is quantitative revolution? Quantitative revolution is models and theory building in geography. That is, if this many people have behaved in certain pattern, then this is the outcome. If this many people have behaved in certain pattern, then XYZ is the outcome. means quantitative revolution. For example, if I say, if you all become robots and if I feed all the books in you and tell you with the help of software ki this is how the introduction should be, this is how the conclusion should be, this is how the placement of the diagram should be, you all will become toppers, right? So quantitative revolution comes from the philosophy of positivism in geography, and positivism says no to romanticism. What is romanticism? Thinking, analyzing, ऐसे होना चाहिए था, वैसे होना चाहिए था, ऐसे करना चाहिए था. It says नहीं, जो दिखता है that is the reality. जो नहीं, what you cannot measure, quantify, that is not the reality. Fine. So this is what is. So ye, where is the quantitative revolution in geography? Tell me daily life examples. Why blue line runs only from this? Why didn't government of India take blue line metro from Hanuman Ji ka mandir to the Mandir Marg, and then I say ghoom ke aise? Why it chose only a certain places? Footfall. Had they taken any other route of metro, that metro would not have been profitable. That is the quantitative revolution in urban planning. Exit poll is an example of quantitative revolution in political geography. Getting it? Rajendra Nagar, this should be the houses, this should be the garden area. After the surrounding the gardens, this should be there. That is the quantitative revolution in the economic town planning. So all what is happening is the region of quantitative revolution. One of the best example is New Delhi. Why I take the example of New Delhi? Because Bombay becomes a slightly older city, not the Delhi. This area is what is known as Connaught Place, jahan pe all the offices are located, where each and every people will be going in the morning for the office and coming back. So when they are going and coming back, roads should radiate in all the directions from the Connaught Place region. Why people do not stay in the Connaught Place? Because they cannot afford to live there. Fine? Roads should radiate in all the directions from the Connaught Place. This becomes the CBD of Delhi, Central Business District. What is the characteristics of Central Business District? Absence of residential. And surrounding the Central Business District, jahan pe all the economic activities take place, surrounding this will be, tell me, high class housing, ya middle class housing, ya lower middle class housing? Surrounding will be lower middle class housing. Why lower middle class? Because lower middle class people cannot afford to stay at A and travel this distance every day and spend on bus ticket or metro ticket. So because it is a lower middle class housing, this lower middle class housing will be always congested. In this lower middle class housing, there will be shops at the ground floor, and at the top there will be residential. You don't have to go. You have to go at your PGs and see what happens in this area. Highly congested. Now economics of this region has changed because of Vajiram. Fine. But initially what was this? This was the region which was very near to the metro station, railway station. Railway station is always surrounded by the shanties or slums, and then there we have the lower middle class housing, because they have to travel every day to the work and they cannot afford, and because this is a central business district, this will be obviously polluted, so they can have polluted air. Then once you come from Rajendra Nagar to somewhat, this is the middle class housing. And if you go to Gurgaon or farther away, then there is a higher class housing where you will have mostly farmhouses. All this have changed. But what remains true is this model of urban planning. Then the government over the period, because the population and the modes of transportation have changed, government has constructed this blue color road and calls this as outer ring road and this as ring road or inner ring road. And so that you can, this is what is the chapter 5, that is the models and theories and models laws in the human geography. Systems analysis, because you behave like a computer, input agar ye hai, so this will be the output. This is what is the systems analysis and outcome of quantitative revolution. Population geographies in the terms of Malthusian, Marxism and demographic transition model. Then central place theories where you should set up a business. When government is planning any areas, Demarcating any areas, this is one district. See, all these things do not apply to India because India is a developing economy and all this is European geography. And this is another district. So this should be the way districts should be designed, or the districts or any places should be designed in an hexagonal manner. And यहाँ पे एक office होना चाहिए. If you design in this manner any business, any district, and if this is the central place, what happens? Person from this region will come here, person from this region will come here, person from this region will, means this can be mall, this can be collector office, this can be a court, anything it can be. But person who is coming in the intersected region will have a choice of coming here or will have a choice of going here. And if this is a business, you are in the loss because you are not taking the optimum population. So you'll always plan anything in an hexagonal manner. Getting it? So this are what is the central place theory of Christoller. Then we come to very interesting models, Perroux and Baudeville model. This one town is Delhi, this one town is Kolkata. Can you tell me any other city which is competing Kolkata in this region? Any other city which is as big as Kolkata and is giving competition to Kolkata? Kolkata. A person from Bihar. Where are your Eastern Bihar, Western Bihar? Eastern Bihar. Which is your magnet city? Magnet city मतलब कहाँ पे most of the people will be looking for work? Major metro में. Forget Patna. Patna, is it big as it is as big as Kolkata? No. So why Patna is not as big as Kolkata? So Kolkata was British capital at that time. It became developed, and once India became independent, it was so much well developed that person who wants a better quality of life rather than developing Patna will go and settle in Kolkata. Right? A person who wants a better quality of life rather than developing Varanasi, Lucknow or any other cities will come and settle in Delhi. Why? Delhi acts as a magnet. So what happens? Who wants a better quality of life? The one who is educated, one who is younger, the one who has skill set. Then only he will come to Delhi, he will go to Kolkata and have job. So what happens because of this? Migration occurs from this region to the surrounding cities. And because the migration occurs from this region to the surrounding cities, Bihar stagnates. What happens in Bihar? What is the classic case of Bihar? What is the classic case of Eastern UP? And to some extent Western UP, but Abhi that has been reversed. Classic case is young, educated, no longer wants to stay in villages. He comes and migrates from villages to the cities. Who stays in villages is females and very old people or children. And the person who does not find job anywhere, not even in his place, so he is a criminal, antisocial elements. Fine? So what happens? Biharis or Eastern UPs become developed individually, but the state stagnates. Fine? So this classic case is nothing but our model, Perroux and Baudeville. Because these are known as growth centers which will always attract, and more the growth center, it is harmful for the nation. Getting it? So that explains why Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand are rich in resources, but the states are underdeveloped. Getting it? Why? Because jitna zyada magnetic pool of the cities, utna rich people will stay there at the cost of backwardness. So they will use the areas only for exploitation, and that is the Perroux-Baudeville model. Then we come to the simple model, that is the von Theunen's model of agriculture location. This model of the agriculture location says if this is Delhi and if you are having a land surrounding Delhi in zone 1, if you are having a land surrounding Delhi in zone 2, if you are having a land surrounding Delhi, some of you in zone 3, and some of you are having a land surrounding Delhi in zone 4. For example, this first row people are having a land surrounding Delhi in zone 1. What should they do? They should do dairy farming, vegetable farming, or they should do wheat farming. If in zone 1, if you start doing wheat farming, how many times you go into the market to buy wheat? Once in a month, 5 kilo ka aata, 10 kilo ka aata. If you are surrounding near Delhi, if your house is near Delhi, the cost of the land is very high, and if you are doing any business, the business should be able to give you that much returns. Fine. So in this region, you will grow perishable items, wheat, vegetables, which are daily required in the cities, every day in the morning on the breakfast table, so that people will buy. If the people do not, if the people buy in bulk, they will become perishable. Milk gets destroyed within 2 or 3 days. And this is why the zone 1 should be dedicated to certain kind of farming activities. Zone 2 may, maybe you will grow potato, jo, or any kind of an food crops which will require after 2-3 days. Zone 3 may wheat, and zone 4 may jawar bajra. Most important model, every alternate year one question comes, because this is having universal application. How universal application? This is Delhi, this is Haryana, Western UP, some sections of the Western UP, then Central UP, Eastern UP, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh. Jitna dur, you cannot grow vegetables here, because if you grow vegetables, you will have to supply them to Delhi every day in the morning, and to supply them, you will have to hire a truck which is going to charge from you. So you will go in loss. Getting it? So these are the theories. For example, von Theunen's agriculture model. Same theory is the Weber's industrial location. One of the important theories regarding the cities is the Rostow's model of growth. And then what I will again discuss again and again in GS also, what you will study even in the international relation, is why India is becoming so important, because a person who rules Afghanistan has direct control over India. The person who has direct control over India has control over Indian Ocean, and person who has direct control over Indian Ocean has the control over the 80% of trade. And therefore, ये सब किसने कहा? ये कहा था Heartland and Rimland theory. Can you tell me anything in current affairs that is related to Heartland and Rimland theory, a policy of India? Start with S. Came in editorial 3 days back. Sagar strategy of India, not Sagarmala. Or what is happening in the world? The world may, most of the things are for the control of the Central Asia. क्यों? क्योंकि Central Asia से control करके over India. So there are two forces. One is with USA, NATO. One is with Russia, SCO. India knows it is. India cannot survive with NATO. India cannot survive with SCO. Though we have become a part now of SCO, but India focuses on non-aligned movement. This is all about the paper 1. Getting it? Overview of the paper 1. What are the books you should have? I will not tell you any books as of, except for one book. I will not ask you to buy Khuller. जब इंडियन ज्योग्राफी करेंगे खुल्लर लेंगे, जब ह्यूमन ज्योग्राफी करेंगे माजिद हुसैन सर की बुक लेंगे. फाइन. जब थॉट्स, there are 4 basic books. You should have physical geography by Savindra Singh, which you should buy now. Fine. Use it as a reference book. You should have human geography by Majid Hussain. You should have geographical thought by Majid Hussain, and you should have the Indian geography by Khuller. But this all are the reference books, because if you think that you are going to read that book on your own and complete the optional, it is impossible. This is one optional which surely requires coaching. Getting it? because it is vast. And when you look at the physical geography by Savindra Singh, Thornwright is not there, Copen is not there, Davis is not there, Penck is not there, means questions jahan se aate hai wo nahi hai. So what is the option you are having? Your option is class notes or Geomorphology by Savindra Singh, Climatology by Savindra Singh, Environmental Geography by Savindra Singh, Oceanography by Savindra Singh, fine. Economic Geography by G.C. Leong, not the GS wala G.C. Leong, a thick G.C. Leong ka book. But again I am saying, don't do excessive reading. Once you do excessive reading, you will neglect other portions of the GS. I did the same thing. My geography is very strong because that was my subject in the preliminary examination. I used to do excessive reading. मतलब ये जो माजिद हुसैन, ये जो आजकल के बच्चे नहीं पढ़ते, any random question used to come in the preliminary examination from Majid Hussain. Geographical thought used to have 5 to 6 marks ka weightage. Geomorphology used to have 10 to 15 marks ka weightage, climatology, etc. And they used to ask any fact from any page. So old people who gave the optional, who gave UPSC before 2011 have very strong command over optionals. Why? Because it was in the preliminary examination. Fine, when there was no era of CSAT. And no notes used to suffice. Everything used to be from the books. Anything. Because we had 120 questions, and out of that 120 questions, after negative marking, if your score is not 92 in general category, you are out of the race. GS ka score matter hi nahi karta tha. GS used to have 150 questions in 2 hours, 1 mark each. This used to have 2 marks each. So and combined cutoff hota tha. So that was the era when you required books. Now you do not require books. What you require is answer writing from the class notes, except some pages. If I require anything, I will give you supplement of geography and I will give you supplement of Kurukshetra. I will ask you to buy that Yojana, that Kurukshetra, but try to limit the resources. Don't have a library of the books. You are not reading any book. Rather than have few books, read them again and again, and that is the secret of clearing this examination. Getting it? Not reading the books, not reading too many books, reading few books, but revising and answer writing. Fine? So we'll start with geomorphology part. GS में climate, optional में fine. Keep the syllabus with you. Means your past year book also has a syllabus. There is no map based question in paper 1. Map is present only in the paper 2. I have not discussed with you paper 2. So when we say the forces or the movements that play a major role in shaping the earth in the form of mountains, plateaus and plains. Plains are always nearer to the sea level. What is the difference between the plateau and a plain? Plateau is a flat surface at a height. Plain is a flat surface nearer to the sea level. Mountain is obviously a convex or concave surface which is very, very steep. So there are two forces that play a major role, and one of this force is which originate below the earth, that is what is known as an endogenetic forces. It originates within the earth. The other force is exogenetic. Genesis means origin. So where it is originating? Endo, inside. Where it is originating? Exo, outside. That is originates. What is outside the earth? Atmosphere. What is up above us is atmosphere. Now, in geographical languages, endogenetic forces are known as constructive forces. Again, listen to the word in the geographical language, not in the terms of humans. In the geographical language, they are known as constructive forces. Why? Because they create something on the surface of the earth. What they will create? They will create mountains, they will create valleys, they will create plateaus. Fine. And what do these exogenetic forces do? They will reduce the height of the mountains and make them plains. So we will call that reduces the height as destructive forces. How do they reduce the height? When Ganga comes with great speed, does it bring stones? The stones are broken from the Himalayas. The stones are brought and deposited in the plains. So plains become very flat. But what is being reduced in height is the Himalayas. Fine. So these are known as the destructive forces. And these constructive forces are further divided into two types. Some of the forces are so slow that human beings are never going to experience them in the lifetime. Which are very slow forces? So they are so slow. Himalayas, are their height rising? Yes. Himalayas is increasing in height by 5 centimeters every year. But do we feel the increase in the height? No. Did we see in our lifetime how did the Himalayas come up? Or for example, आज भी Indian plate is moving towards the north. That is, it is pushing to the Asia, and because of this, the Himalayas are being formed. ये जो Himalayas है, will it occur that suddenly one day you go to bed and next day you get up on the top of a mountain? Will it occur? Doubt hai? There you go and sleep. It is a flat plane. Indian plate is moving upwards, and when you get up in the morning, you are on the top of a mountain. ऐसे होगा? No. So these forces, which are extremely slow forces, they are known as diastrophic forces. Diastrophism means very slow. And some of the forces which we experience in the lifetime are sudden, and we will call them as catastrophic forces. Fine. Now here comes a catch. How do we know that in the regions where there are Himalayas was once ocean? By the sediments. Himalayas are made up of sediments which are generally found below the oceans. There are some of the fossils of the fishes which are found on the topmost ranges of the Himalayas. Generally petroleum is found in below the water. कभी भी coastal region में petroleum मिलेगा, याद रखना. Petroleum is always formed below the saline water. But where was the first petroleum well in India? Assam, Himalayan region. Fine. One of the most important tree in the Himalayas is sea buckthorn. नाम है sea buck. Why? Because उसका cousin is found below the sea. In the regions of Haryana, if you go, or in the regions of Gujarat, if you go, if you see uska sand is very much similar to the sand that is found on the sea. That means this region was once a sea. So if you go and study this region properly, just like some people go and study history like this, that this they will go, they will dug up and niche city mil gayi to Hadappa, Mohenjo-daro it can be, and then they will come to a conclusion that yes, there was a civilization. Similarly, if you go and dug, or if you go and visit some place and if you find a city ke niche big river valleys, or if you find some, if you go in Rajasthan and if you go dug deep, if you go in Haryana and if you go dug deep, you will find ki there are evidences ki once a very big river used to flow through this region, Saraswati river, what we will call this, Ganga, Jamuna, Saraswati. Why? Because when the river is flowing, it will have certain characteristics. When the glacier is flowing, it will have certain characteristics. All this is not required at now. But there are evidences that we can study. That is, maybe the past climate was somewhat like this. So this school, which studies very slow building up of the earth's crust, is what is known as diastrophism. Can I say that diastrophism believes in the concept that present is key to the past? Present is key to the past. How do you agree with Indian mythology that Dwarka is below the sea? Where is Dwarka? Krishna ki Dwarka. Indian mythology says it is below the sea. That is in Gujarat. And Gujarat mein there are evidences to show that the coast which was there, it has now gone below the sea. Getting it? So this was the coast, this was the sea. Today it has went below the sea, and we will call this mountain as Western Ghats. Getting it? So this school, that is the first law of geography, is the present is key to the past. By this school, we study diastrophic forces into two parts. One is there are two forces. One which will form the mountain, Himalayas, when you study, it is the orogenetic forces. Oro means mountain. And when you study the entire India or entire Asia as a continent, कि कैसे बना, कैसे destroy हुआ, you will call them as a epirogenetic. Example of epirogenetic we will study in both optional and GS, continental drift theory. How did the continents form? Plate tectonic theory. This is when we studied it on the very, very large scale. Continent building forces and mountain building forces. Getting it? Example. Which state in India is famous for cotton? Maharashtra. Why so? Because it has black soil. Which region has black soil? Those who have done their GS, they already know. Jahan pe there is volcanic eruptions. So by studying at the Maharashtra ka black soil, what you can conclude? In the past there was volcanic eruptions. That is what is the present is key to the past. Fine. For example, our life is also present is key to the past. Fine. During our school days, had we been as studious as means we would have been as talented, as studious, right from engineering, medicine, जो भी आपकी faculty है. Today, maybe you would have landed in Google or in NASA, but we human beings are not deterministic, we are possibilistic. And possibilism में there is no quantitative revolution. I am just linking 2-3 chapters, मतलब input output नहीं है. maybe if I give the entire lecture, some of you will have very positive effect. आज जाके घर पे पढ़ोगे. कुछ कुछ ऐसे लोग होंगे कि अरे ये लेक्चर मैंने 10 बार सुना है, उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. Fine. So all this depends upon the individual, because success and failure ultimately depends upon the individual. Classes, coaching industry is just a guiding light. It is all you who are going to work hard. So all these things, when we go on studying, can I say our life is also an example of present is key to the past. If you become IAS, in your future will it determine what you did here as a student life. Fine. So present is key to the past. That is one of the first fundamental rules of geomorphology. Don't write, we'll write all this, and these are your sure shot questions. But when we say continent building forces, as of now I am just introducing continents kaise banenge. Either the continent, either the land comes out from the sea, or either the land goes below the sea. So there are two continent building forces. One is submergence, or subsidence, and the second is emergence. And similarly, there are two mountain building forces. I can show you the example of only one. If I press this, compression, this is what is compressive force. If I pull this, tension. If I press this, the rock, if it is elastic, it will become a mountain, and we will call this as folding, and the second is faulting. So folding, how the fold mountains are formed, how the fault mountains or the block mountains are formed. And catastrophic forces are the ones you experience in your lifetime, and they are of two types. One is earthquakes, and second is volcanoes. Means this you are going to experience in your lifetime. You are going to, anyone can experience earthquake or volcano in their lifetime. They will feel it. So you will call them as a very sudden forces. Any doubt till now? Getting it? Can I continue? Can I rub this part? And similarly, we classify the exogenetic forces into two. Understand the meaning of the statements, because ये topic नहीं पढ़ना है हमें इसका applications पढ़ने हैं. I break this wall, what will happen? Iska particles will come out, and when iska particles will come out, will they stay in the air or they will fall down? They will fall down. But if I break the floor, the particles, will they stay at the same place? Will they fall down? If I break this ground, because it is a flat, will they stay at the same place? So when the nature breaks anything, and if it stays at the same place, and if there is no movement except under gravity, why this is falling down? This is falling down because of gravity. This kind of an force is what is known as weathering. What is weathering? It is an in situ process, in situ at the same place. Example, I take a drilling machine, drill this, the soil will remain here. It will fall down under the gravity. When it falls down under the gravity, वो GS ये सब हम करते हैं, it is not required in optional. It is known as mass movement. An example of mass movement is landslide. Landslide involves no major transportation. It just involves falling down due to gravity, and therefore landslide occurs at certain places only. But on other hand, अगर मैंने झाड़ू लिया, if I take a broom, pick those and throw them in the dustbin, that involves transportation, and for transportation मुझे झाड़ू की ज़रूरत है. So similarly, nature को transportation के लिए agents की ज़रूरत है. It requires agents, and these agents are river, glaciers, winds, etc. This which involves movement is what is known as erosion. And where does this understanding everyone? In the erosion there is transportation. Who does the transportation? Winds, rivers, glaciers. These are the agents of erosion. They will ultimately end their life in sea. Getting it? So erosion is where. And therefore we'll call this as an ex situ process. Getting it? And this forces, both weathering and erosion, in the next 3 to 4 lectures we are going to use a single word. That is the reason we have drawn this entire table, is that is the denudation, or fine. I'll stop here today. Tomorrow we'll continue till 5 o'clock. So you don't have to, if you want to read anything before coming to for tomorrow's class, you can start reading the basic NCERTs. Best preferred NCERTs will be, if it is available in the market, is the old Fundamentals of Physical Geography. Unlike here, in optional you don't require to carry atlas regularly. You don't require to remember the places in paper 1, you just have to remember the places in paper 2. So atlas will require in paper 2, fine, not in paper 1. And don't read Savindra Singh now, because out of that entire booklet you have to read only specific chapters, otherwise you will get confused. It has not been written for UPSC. It is a general book of geography. Many things are there which is not in our syllabus, fine. But carry every day your past year paper booklet. So thank you.